opening because we can't really just hello. We're live.
We need our sweet, smooth listening theme music.
We're live, Jazz.
We are live.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about everything. Let's just say about everything.
If you've had a bad day, we're sorry.
Like that song by U2, I think. Well, hold on. Amy, do you want to intro us?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. I'm Amy.
And I'm Paul.
And this is the Comics Hall. We've got a great show for you today, and we're covering all the new releases from Wednesday, April 7th. That was definitely me just checking the calendar to make sure I was in the correct month, because
100%.
March just flew by, and now we're in April. We are joined today by a fabulous moderator.
Jazz, that's you.
Hi, I'm Jazz, moderator. I had no idea. We are live in just 3 places today.
Yes.
It's YouTube, Facebook, and the Let Your Geek Side Show Facebook group. So chat with me in the comments. It's great to have you here.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, sorry guys, we're having a little bit of tech troubles, or we had a little bit of tech troubles today. We've got our alternative here, so you guys will still be able to get your weekly fix. We're just a little bit more low budget today because our producer Chris was having some tech issues.
Hold on.
I'll wait just a gosh darn minute.
I downloaded 5 pictures for this show, okay?
Well, let's not waste any time. We're going to dive right into the comic book news for you guys. A lot of cool trailers dropped this week, plus some new superheroes on the way from DC Comics. So let's get right into it.
Yes, I'm going to kick us off here. So, DC has a new character, everyone. DC Comics has revealed that they will introduce a new superhero in the anthology book DC Festival of Heroes, the Asian Superhero Celebration. The character, created by Jean-Luen Yang and Bernard Chang, is called the Monkey Prince and is inspired by the legendary hero of Chinese mythology from Journey to the West. The Monkey Prince will appear in a 12-page story called The Monkey Prince Hates Superheroes, in which he joins forces with Shazam to stop Dr. Sivana. DC Festival of Heroes will hit stores on May 11th.
I'm very excited, and I had forgotten to put that one on my pull list. So as soon as they announced and showed the really cool concept art cover for the Monkey Prince, put that one right on my pull list.
Yes, very, very, very excited for that. And then also, speaking of there's no real segue for this, everyone. Speaking of the next thing that is on my notes, Netflix has released the first trailer for Jupiter's Legacy, the first live-action project in the streaming services deal with Mark Miller, co-creator of Wanted, Kick-Ass, and Kingsman: The Secret Service. The series follows the first generation of superheroes and the tensions that arise as they pass the torch to their less heroic children. Generational divides between pulp heroics and superhero celebrity cause family strife and cynicism as the rules of crime fighting begin to change. Jupiter's Legacy premieres on Netflix on May 7th. Yes, very, very excited for that. I'll save this for our Jupiter Legacy episode, but I've got some things to say about that comic, and I'm really, really, really excited. Also excited to see Miller kick off his real expensive deal with Netflix.
Yeah, this will be really cool. I mean, the budget looked fantastic on the trailer. Really, really cool. I'm super into it. And if you're a fan of Justice League or even The Boys, where it's not entirely total parody like The Boys is of being a superhero, but it definitely does have that. What happens when people are doing it for the glitz and glamour more so than the down true heroics? And also, what does that even mean to a generation of superheroes that are just a really tight-knit little crew? I also think Jupiter's Legacy #1 is one of the free image firsts available on imagecomics.com. So you can check that out if you're curious enough after watching that trailer, what the series is all about. But yeah, good for Mark Miller. And I'm sure that this will usher in a wave of success with him and Netflix as well.
I hope so.
Up next, a streaming service that needs no introduction. Disney Plus and Marvel Studios have released the first official trailer. Everything that we saw before was exclusive clips and sneak peeks, but the first official trailer for Loki, which sees the God of Mischief being forced to clean up his mistakes from Avengers Endgame, because as we know, once he stole the Tesseract, this broke the Marvel Universe timeline and caused a lot of branching universes. I also want people to remember that this Loki that we're going to be seeing in the series is the one who has not had his redemption arc and heartfelt kind of heart-to-heart with his brother and sacrifice himself. This is the asshole who just tried to take over New York, and he's being forced to clean up after himself. So I am thrilled to see if people are gonna feel like, oh, the character regressed from where we knew. I'm like, no, this is exactly like a new timeline from what we've just seen. He is incarcerated by the Time Variance Authority, the TVA, also known as the same convention center hotel that Dragon Con is hosted at, if you're familiar.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw a lot of jokes about that with the trailer release, but Loki's adventures will take the form of a crime thriller throughout the newly broken Marvel timeline. So can't wait to see what messes we're going to see him clean up when the series premieres on Disney Plus on June 11th.
Yes, very excited for that. Amy, wait, nope, we've already used our one bad word.
I think if anyone was going to get the bad word, it was going to be broken timeline Loki.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
I was wondering how you were going to skirt around cursing there.
That's our new low budget. No, I'm kidding. And one more piece of news. Speaking of DC Comics superheroes and television series is on the way. Writer and executive producer Ava DuVernay has shared some exciting news regarding the upcoming Naomi series from the CW. According to her, the pilot has officially begun filming as of April 6th, and she tweeted out the news with a photograph of a student. It's probably Naomi McDuffie, who will be played by Casey Wallfall, skateboarding down a school hallway. Not much else identifying information in that, but officially the pilot has begun filming with that announcement and that tweet. And the Naomi series will, of course, be based on the DC character of the same name created by Brian Michael Bendis and David F. Walker. And the show does not currently have a premiere date, but it is in motion. So that'll be exciting to keep an eye on when it comes down the pipeline.
Yeah, very exciting. I mean, still a huge week for comics and for trailers and just comics to a different medium. I would say it's an exciting time, everyone.
Crossing the multiverse, crossing different formats and mediums. It's just a really big, happy, fun week for comics.
It sure is. Yeah. Now, Chris, title card. Oh,
oh darn. We don't have any of our beautiful, slick transition title cards, but what we do have for you guys is our weekly haul. We did not do a panel of the week this week, so if you guys noted that and missed on it, I'm sorry. There was no panel of the week this week. We're going straight into the weekly haul, and we've got our pick of the week at the top here, a fantastic anthology series. Hopefully you guys have all been primed well enough for how anthology comics work with Paul's constant feature of Haha from Image Comics, but Image is taking another foray into that format of storytelling with a horror anthology called The Silver Coin. And this week we got The Silver Coin number 1, which is the pairing of writer Chip Zdarsky and then art, colors, and letters by superstar Michael Walsh. Now, this is our pick of the week. Super, super fun. Nice little banner there.
Boom.
Really cool. Check out that creepy cover. There's some amazing variants out this week. Also, I believe Tula Lotte and
I actually, because I don't have a green screen behind me, I can actually show. Yeah, this is the Tula Lotte variant.
Nice, and I picked up the Michael Walsh cover.
Nice.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I think me and Amy, because Amy was fortunate enough to read it. Just the other day, like a couple of weeks ago. So I guess maybe jumping right in.
Final order cutoff.
So we will do a light aim of the Silver Coin, but I am curious, Amy, kind of maybe kicking us off here. How did it read when you got a second go at it?
I really liked. I mean, I enjoyed it the first time. It was given to me in a digital format, and I'm not the biggest fan of digital comics, but I really liked the tactile experience of going through the pages and panels. There's of course some really great page turn moments, especially when you hit that climax of the horror element of this story. Because unlike Haha, which is kind of that surrealist take on clowns as clowns are the focus, and that's the kind of connecting thread. Right. Every single story in this anthology will be connected by a cursed silver coin. However, none of them play into each other. It's just kind of cyclical tale throughout the ages of horrific, murderous incidents that all involve this same silver coin. And so in this story, we actually get the late 70s as a not very successful rock group are being edged out by the popularity of disco music. And it's, do you want to cling to your art, or are you going to sell out and sell your soul literally to a cursed silver coin?
Sell out. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
I thought this is you're not posing a question, but again, so yeah, this is the Silver Coin. This issue written by Chip Zdarsky. Art, colors, and letters, I believe, are all by Michael Walsh.
Yes. And that will be the case throughout every single issue. He and the coin will be the connecting thread. So Walsh will be the artist on every single one of these, but it is rotating writers.
Yeah, which I think is interesting. And I mean, maybe Amy can speak a little more to this, but it is an absolute murderer's row of, all pun intended, of writers on this. I mean, we've got, is Kelly Thompson up next?
Kelly Thompson is up next. They tease her issue in it feels like a very horror movie VHS kind of preview. So Kelly Thompson's will be up next with The Girls of Summer. And that is a 1990s set summer camp slasher with the silver coin. And then we do have the next one is Ed Brisson in June with Death Rattle, which will be the story of a home invasion gone bad. And then the final writer is Lemire, but they have not solicited his issue title or synopsis yet. But those other two are available. The covers are available for viewing at imagecomics.com. So if we're going for a light aim, I mean, accessibility wise, again, this is a true number one, and you can pick and choose as this is an anthology and the stories don't connect to each other in a linear format or in any format besides knowing that there's a cursed silver coin. You can pick this one up. You can pick up, you can wait for one of your favorite writers. I believe this is only a 4-issue miniseries.
Okay. That was my next question.
4 or 5, but I can't, there's not a 5th writer. So I think it's only 4.
I don't think any of the writers are doubling up. I thought maybe Zdarsky might bookend this, but I don't think so.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's just the 4 for now, but if it's successful, I could definitely see this becoming an ongoing story. And in terms of interest, like I know most people associate the horror anthology of nowadays with kind of like Black Mirror, but this is absolutely like Twilight Zone, Creepshow, Tales from the Crypt style. It lacks a narrator, but it does have that very, very spooky, there's a quality to it I can't really explain without spoiling it. Just the narration voice that does occur. It's not an omniscient narrator. There's people speaking on the incident after it happens, but the recounting of this band's
if I may, to me, it had this like, when is the anvil gonna drop kind of energy about it. Like, I know it's a horror anthology. I know the coin is the connective tissue between all of these books, but to me it was, when is the thing like going to happen? Like, it's not anything. I mean, I hadn't read this. I didn't know going in anything else other than the coin is cursed. I had sort of, as far as the interest goes, I had said I've gotten like The Green Room, which is like a sort of a realistic punk horror movie that had come out. Anton Yelchin was the star in that. Patrick Stewart's in it. I got vibes of that, like that gritty, you also are really into the band dynamic of it. But then it also reminded me of some of the best stories of like, I brought it up earlier, of like Supernatural, where you have these crossroad demons who make these deals with people. And then you normally see, Sam and Dean pull up, and then whoever he just made the deal with goes off. This is like following the person that just went off and made this deal and seeing what the other side of this coin looks like when you sell your soul for this thing. Now, again, we are completely spoiler free. I should say just show. I don't think we'll be a podcast this week, but as far as a show goes, one of the, if I may, I don't think it's too spoilery, but one of the things that I love is that Michael Walsh, and specifically in this issue, Chip Zdarsky, doesn't try to give you an explanation of the what and the why of the coin. Like, they just kind of steer into the fact that it's evil.
Yeah, it's very much a monkey's paw kind of, like, you don't have to know the specific science and metaphysics of why this thing is evil. It's just sometimes you just need a down and dirty horror story where you've got an undeniably cursed relic, and by gosh, you're going to get some deaths following. But going back to the idea of when is the anvil going to drop, I want to give kudos to, Michael Walsh and Chip Zdarsky created a great story and really does build that tension. But in controlling the lettering and the artwork, there's a really masterful execution of that moment that is not only the artwork, but it is the lettering as the lettering starts to fall apart. So if you're reading this one this week, pay specific attention to the lettering. And if you feel uncomfortable looking at the way the words are depicted on the page, that's when you know things are about to go down. And it is so, so cool the way that was done. Because mostly page turn reveals are saved for like a ... and then you flip and it's the artwork. But this actually incorporated the lettering into the gut punch. which was just, it was just beautiful. And I am so excited that the Kelly Thompson is going to be a summer slasher story, because like I'm all about final girls and like 80s movies for horror and stuff. And so like it's set in the 90s, but it's gonna be so much fun.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be great. I also loved you were kind of touching on the coloring of it. I loved, like, in the beginning of it, it was like different scenes had very definitive colors. And then one particular color is used to showcase, like, in my opinion, dread, and basically the entire comic is in that color for the rest of it, in that color filter. And I loved it because it's such a I think with Michael Walsh being able to control the art, the colors, and the lettering, like, you just have so much say. Like, you do all the crafting, and then you're like, okay, Chip, then he can kind of go in and do his bit. So I wonder almost if some of this book was done backwards, which we don't really see very often. Obviously, normally it's script and then to art, which, again, I'm not 100% sure of that. Amy, you could probably speak to that a little more, but I wonder if this book was almost done backwards. Like, Walsh sort of had already plotted the stories, what they look like, and then it was up to Zdarsky to kind of capture their voice.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, that would actually be a question for Chip himself, but undeniably, oh gosh, I wish. But undeniably, having Walsh be the consistent artistic thread throughout the rest of the stories, I think will really make this a unique anthology experience that is visually cohesive throughout, even if the narrative is distinct for each one. I think that'll make a really, really fun experience. Yeah. And in terms of monetary, this is $3.99, and every installment of the series will be $3.99. So you guys can check that out guilt-free. So all it costs is one silver coin, or $4 if you've got that instead. You don't want to give
$4. Don't mess with the coin.
Give up your cursed silver coin. But yeah, that's our pick of the week. It was just so exciting, and I was so glad to get a chance to look at that early. I've been excited since Image Comics announced it. We actually covered it as a news item on the show. So I love that. I love that items that we cover in the news get to come back up months later as fully realized books or television shows that are dropping. So that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great. So we'll see. I mean, if it's anything like haha, I will cover it every week. So
I'm covering the Kelly Thompson one. So
no, Amy's my boss, I'm pretty sure. So all right. So we are going to move into our next segment, everyone, which is we're going to take there's two books that we we've read a lot of books, but there's two of them that we really want to aim for you all. Now, again, whether this is your first show or at least your 15th show, I'm not 100% sure, but really quickly, Chris, cut away. Oh, we've been spoiled, Amy.
I know we have.
So our AIM segment, very simply, is an acronym, and it's because it's how we rate books, because we don't like to assign books a numerical value, because, as we like to say, a 2 to us might be a 10 for you. It's completely subjective. So AIM stands for the A is for accessibility. How easy is it to pick up the book and read? Also, how easy is it to find the book? Is it going to sell out by the time you get to your local comic shop? And then I is interest. Who would like this book? And then another, side of that silver coin is what is the maybe the general interest in that book around the comic book industry?
Yeah, is it a speculator hot book already, or is it kind of a sleeper?
25.
Daredevil 25.
And then M is money, or as Amy likes to say, the monetary investment. How much are you paying, and what are you getting for your dollars? So that's what AIM is. So we will jump right in. Oh, I will jump right in. I'm up first. So really quickly here. One second.
Paul is managing the mix board today for bringing up
I'm doing
pictures.
Multiple things, believe it or not. I am covering Geiger Number One by Image Comics, written by Jeff Johns, art by Gary Frank, and colors by Brad Anderson, and the lettering by Rob Lay. So that's the book that I am going to be aiming for you all. Give me 1 second. Boom. Geiger Number One. Look at who needs a Chris, right? We do. I do.
Absolutely do.
So, really simply, I guess just getting right into the aim of it, the accessibility. It is a true number one. As I think, have we already mentioned that on the show? I don't even know. I feel like
I think I briefly mentioned it for Silver Coin, but didn't really elaborate.
Basically, we like to say something is a true number one when you can literally pick it up and not have read a comic book in your life, and everything that you need to know is in between those pages. So there's no really prerequisites to jumping into that book. This is one of those books. Now, as far as how easy is it to find, it should be pretty easy to find. This is a pretty popular book by an all-star creative team. So I think, and there's a couple of variants. I picked up a couple as well. Now the eye, as far as the interest goes, it's interesting. I guess that's why it's in the acronym. To me, it's a mix of a lot of things. This book is pretty on the surface at first. So everything that you get is pretty much surface level. There's not a lot of deeper meanings behind, the things being written for this book. But the reason is, I think, because Jeff Johns and Gary Frank and Brad Anderson, they realize that they have crafted a huge world in this book, and they need to sort of get all the information out before they can start getting into these individual stories. And there's actually a really handy map in the back matter, which is like after the actual story is over, there's some like fun pages. There's a map of it's I guess kind of a spoiler, but it's like a New Vegas, which is also why I had wrote in my notes that it's a mix of Fallout, the Book of Eli, and Game of Thrones. So if at least two of those three interest you, I think you would like this book. The Game of Thrones sort of comparison will become very apparent sort of towards the end of Geiger Number One. But there's a lot of characters. There's a lot of it's sort of, if you were with us for our Nocterra when we had Scott Snyder on, we said that, Scott sort of just drops you in the middle of these huge worlds that he's creating, and then very slowly, deals out cards of information, and very, very slowly. And Jeff Johns, does something very similarly here with this, but also, and Gary Frank, because Gary Frank, who is the main artist on this, also did a lot of the plotting for this. So a lot of the story can be attributed to him as well. So it's great. I think really the only thing that kind of took me out of it was there's a lot of exposition, but once you get past page 6, it just rolls. It's real fast. And again, it's beautiful to look at. Gary Frank and Brad Anderson are absolute legends. They've worked with pretty much everyone. Mainly DC is where I know them from, but there are a couple pages in here, some splash pages that really, I think were top tier. It's a fun book. If you are a post-apocalyptic wasteland fan, you will like this book. There's a little more that I think I'll read probably issue 2 and 3. I usually give books about 3 issues. But yeah, it's a big book. There's a lot of pressure on that creative team's shoulders because they're all pretty big names. So the expectation is high. And I think they deliver with Geiger Number One here. And then as far as the M in AIM, the monetary investment, it's only $3.99, and you're getting 32 pages of comic. There are no ads in here, not until like the very, very end, past even the back matter. And then it is an ongoing. As far as I know, it's not a going to be a mini series or a maxi series. So it's Geiger Number One. Yeah, go pick it up. You should be able to find it. It's a good book.
All right, I'm covering another big release this week. This is from Boom Studios. I've got Magic Number One, also known as Magic the Gathering Number One, but that one was specifically, it's just titled Magic. I did pick up this week. I picked up the basic variant, but there are some hidden Planeswalkers covers. There we go, as well as a whole slew of really awesome variants for this. So as you may have been able to surmise, this is of course based on the massive gaming franchise of Magic. This was written by Jed McKay with art by Ig Guara, colors by Ariana Consani, and letters by Ed Dukeshire. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I have never once played Magic the Gathering in my life. I have sold it. I worked at a comic book store, of course. I know my Zendikar and my Ravnica, and that's about it. But technically, this issue is a true number one. It starts with an introduction that there's kind of a magic multiverse, and the universe of the games is somewhat a little separate from the story that you're about to see in the comic. It does a great job of introducing concepts from the game franchise. It actually starts with a big introduction about the idea of magic, the planeswalkers, and then the central setting is Ravnica, and it introduces the guild masters, the planeswalkers. But I'm going to be completely honest, at a certain point in the story, it did feel like I'm missing something. This feels like it's explicitly for fans of the Magic the Gathering franchise. However, I think fans of fantasy in general will be able to find something to love here. There is a point where they do get into a lot of high fantasy technical terminology. I can't even remember, but like names for power batteries and technology that they have in that universe is like very, very specifically that world. It's not difficult to figure out from context, but I'm sure some of it is more of a like, hey, that's a name drop for people who collect the cards and play the actual game. So that there was a level of disconnect for me versus a straight Dungeons and Dragons based story. But as you may or may not know, of course, it is a Wizards of the Coast property, and they even did a Dungeons and Dragons compendium called Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica that brought magic concepts into Dungeons and Dragons. So, there's a lot of places that can go. That's a little bit of my interest as well. So if you're a fan of the game franchise and you're a comic book reader, this is directly catered to you. Nice. But it also, if you're a fan of Critical Role Origins, other fantasy properties, Dungeons & Dragons, and I also want to say Rat Queens, but not for the humor, but for the high fantasy. There wasn't a whole lot of laugh out loud storytelling. This is a bit more of a high fantasy, takes itself seriously story. For fans who are out there listening who are familiar with Magic, it includes the Orzhov Syndicate, the Izzet League, and the Golgari Swarm. And then there are characters like Jace and other known planeswalkers from the series. So I very much felt like Jace gets a whole page reveal when he shows up, and it very much felt like a yeah for people who would know who that character is. It felt like one of those moments that like this would be people cheering in the theater in Endgame for fans of Magic. Maybe that's a little too intense, but it definitely
no, that's all I'm envisioning now.
Definitely feels more suited for people who are already steeped in the lore somewhat. Right. But I still really enjoyed it. The general plot, which is not a spoiler, it was released in the preview, is that general spoiler, that there are assassins targeting the planeswalkers, and the planeswalkers are people with the unique property to, as you guessed, walk different planes of the multiverse. And so there are people who are strategically trying to kill them, and they have to figure out why, while also maintaining the peace between the guilds. It's a beautiful comic, very, very lush. If you play Neverwinter or not quite Final Fantasy style, but if you play those kind of large scale open world games, it definitely has that fantasy MMORPG feel as well. Now the money or the M in the AIM here, it's $4.99 for this first issue. I don't believe every single issue will be $4.99. I think it's $3.99 from here on out. And it is 32 pages without advertisements, so you can really just read right through and get a really nice chunk of story. There is some pages at the end that are previewing for other Boom Studios series. They do a great job of giving you previews. I think this one is the many deaths of Layla Starr, I think is the series preview, but you get 28 pages of Magic story plus 4 pages of Boom Studio bonus stuff. But this was a fun release. It's a huge release. Also in terms of accessibility, I believe it is sold out at the distributor level, but that means every store ordered like 1 billion copies. So you definitely should be able to find this any store you are able to walk into. Otherwise, it's on Comixology. So that is Magic #1 from Boom Studios.
Yeah, and I wonder, Amy, if, because I don't have this information. I mean, I know we have supercomputers, in our pockets and in our hands, but I wonder, when was the last time like a huge Magic the Gathering comic had come out? Like, I can't think. I mean, aside from this, obviously.
Yeah, I actually don't know because I haven't tracked it so much. Definitely, it's been a while because the last big cross-platform Magic thing that I can remember was the release of Guildmasters of Ravnica, or Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica for Dungeons and Dragons. But it's definitely always there, and they're releasing a new set of cards every 3 months or so. I actually think the Strixhaven is the next game set that's coming out like very, very soon. They're taking pre-orders for it at my local comic store. But this is definitely a big, really cool release that shows it's not just a card game. I mean, it is a massive franchise, and I think there's online adaptations of Magic
just adds
play
to lore as well.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, as two expert Magic the Gathering, players, me and Amy, we both, I would say, we would recommend this book, especially if you are an actual fan of it, or like a long-term fan of it.
Yeah, and I would actually love to hear from anyone who has played the game to some extent. If they read this comic, how did those character appearances feel? Were those like cool cameos? Was that really exciting, or was I not missing as much as I was expecting that I'm missing by not having played the game? Because there's no I know there was no talk of mana. I was prepared to go in for like magic colors and mana, but that's kind of just a general concept in the world. They don't really take the time to kind of point that out to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good stuff. Yeah. So the next book that we are going to aim for you is the one that I am picking up, and it is Green Lantern Number One. This is a new number one. This is the first Green Lantern title proper in the post Future State, or technically it says it literally right there, Paul. Infinite Frontier era of DC Comics. So hold on. I'm doing a couple things here, guys. So
I'd help you if I could.
She's like, but I can't, So, again, this is Green Lantern Number One, of course, by DC Comics, written by Jeffrey Thorne, art by Dexter Soy and Marco Santucci, and colors Alex Sinclair, and letters by Bernard Chang. This is a really, really, so jumping right into the aim here. This is a pretty unique book as far as all of the stuff that DC, all the number ones, I should say, that DC has posted directly following the Future State. I mean, you've got Suicide Squad, you've got the Crime Syndicate, and quite a few others that are, coming down the road. Swamp Thing. This is the only one, again, into the accessibility, that I have found that you really need to have read Future State to have enjoyed it. Rob, Honey Bear Coacher, who is our moderator. Normally he was having some Wi-Fi issues, so we were lucky enough to sign Jasmine for the day. Yeah, there goes our whole budget. That's why we're doing it in StreamYard today. So he'd actually read it, and he's like, hey, he wanted to read all the books that we were aiming today. I mean, I don't even know if I told you that.
Oh, really?
He picked all of them up. And he read all of them, and he likes Silver Coin. But one of the comments that he made about Green Lantern is absolutely true. And this kind of does what I was saying about Geiger and Scott Snyder, where they kind of drop you in the middle of a world. It does so, but it really does require you to have read Future State, I think. Now that is the Future State Green Lantern Number One and Number Two. Also, apparently it helps if you've also been reading Far Sector, which I have not been reading Far Sector. I am actually behind on it, but the new council that is all in play now. There's a whole new planet. They're no longer on Mogo. Mogo is its own sentient being elsewhere now, helping patrol some of the unknown sectors, which is sectors 0, 1, 2, 3. All of the popular table of Green Lanterns, they are all of the Earth-based ones are all doing different things, but this is a story solely focused on John Stewart, and you've also got Simon Boz, but of course it is focusing on the teen Lantern, Kelly Quintela, who is brand new to the Green Lantern universe, and I love it because I feel like Jeffrey Thorne kind of captured her voice pretty well. She's really funny, and she's really challenging to Ganthet and some of the other Guardians. They don't understand why she doesn't just do what she's told. And aside from being human, there's a fun joke in there. It's like, not only are humans difficult, but also Latinas. And so it's like, well, yeah, man. I mean, I get it. And so it's a really fun book. They do a really great job of balancing the amount of like John Stewart you get, who is someone that I think you can immediately relate to and cling on to because, known him forever, depending on what you've been reading. And then also giving Kelly Quintela enough time to shine. But you also get Simon Baz in here quite a bit too, which is great. And so that is sort of I guess that's the accessibility of it. It is not as accessible as some of these other number ones are. Like if you have read Swamp Thing in the Ron V era, like you don't really need to have read a lot of Future State, because what we've come to learn about Future State is those are all things that could possibly happen. They are not like the definitive future, because now you have the Omniverse and that may exist somewhere else. But then as soon as the timeline is fixed, that Future State, verse, if you will, is gone. So it's all very DC sort of steering into the everything counts and everything is important, which I love, because just keep telling stories.
I think that really opens up writers to have a lot of freedom to tell stories, instead of going, I have to jump through 75 hoops to make sure I'm compliant with timeline B27 from like 20 years ago for this one specific story. I think the idea of like every story could be valid and counts. I think that's really liberating for creatives who want to tell these stories.
Yes. And so I completely agree. One of like the best examples of it is Joelle Jones, who's doing Yara Flores Wonder Woman. Like they're just letting her go nuts with that character, because she is perfect for writing that character. So I absolutely love it. And this is very similar. I think they're going to let Jeffrey Thorne and Dexter Soy and the rest of the team sort of go nuts and really sort of craft and develop Kelly Quintela, so that when she is in other parts of the DC universe in a Justice League book or something, she's sort of got a concrete personality that they can at least pull from. And it feels like that's what they're doing. The only knock, again, that I have on this book is it definitely requires you to have read Future State, Green Lantern, or else you're going to not understand why John Stewart is in like a robe almost the whole time. And you're like, where are they? Where are we? And so again, as far as the interest goes, if you're a Green Lantern fan, if you are a fan of John Stewart, if you're kind of like me, personally, like I love when they just put new characters into like a huge book that is existing, because it sort of forces the writers to be creative with how the other characters interact. Very similar to how, Amy had written in our notes about the new Monkey Prince character. Like that's going to be exciting to see how this new character who has no lore interacts with these characters who have almost 100 years of lore.
Have too much lore.
Almost too much lore. Yes. So, and then of course I love Dexter Soy and Marco Santucci's art in this. It's really clean. There's a lot of moments in this book that have a lot of characters, and it doesn't feel like a lot of the characters don't feel capped, which I learned that word, which is CAP, which means copy and pasted, which I didn't know is a thing that happens, but it does. They're just background characters, but it doesn't feel like a lot of these characters were capped. So it was great. I really, really love this book. I'll be picking it up. If I haven't mentioned, the Green Lantern is my favorite superhero, which sort of, let's see. Oh, which I guess we have a question now, I guess. Well, in StreamYard, Jazz, I can bring you on, or I can just pull the comment up. What do you want to do? Thumbs, I can see you. Thumbs up if you want to be brought on, or thumbs down if you just hate us and you want me to just pull the comment.
I can't see, so my feelings won't be hurt either way.
She's like, oh no, I very well understand that you hate ball. Okay, I'm going to bring Jazz on now. Hi.
Hey, Jazz.
Hi. Hello. Tenchi Misaki in the Let Your Geek Side show group wants to know, do you think there are too many Green Lanterns from Earth now?
Oh.
That's a good question.
That's a great question, Tenchi. Thank you. So I wouldn't say that, like, personally there are too many. And thank you, Jazz, very much. I wouldn't say there are too many. I think it is what happens is a lot of these writers that I feel like just start introducing characters that are as relatable as possible. And they sort of like lose track of that, but it is a plot line even in like Grant Morrison's Green Lantern, and multiple Green Lantern runs that the Guardians are playing favorites because some of the best Green Lanterns of all time have come from specifically Sector 2814. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, hey, love some Earth representation.
I was gonna say, if I might, as a casual Green Lantern fan, I did read Sam Humphries' Green Lanterns for Rebirth, and I've also read Far Sector, and I've dallied with the lanterns here and there. Totally what Paul was saying. I think it's really easy to identify lanterns from all different walks of life on Earth that make them as relatable as possible to different readers. I think on a technical side, if you were to overload with aliens, and yes, the galaxy is vast and there are so many sectors and you could have aliens from anywhere, when you create those aliens, not only do you need a cool design, but you also kind of need to establish an entirely separate civilization that feels distinct. There's a lot of heavy lifting that goes into introducing a character from a completely made up species somewhere else in the galaxy. And while I'm sure, I mean, that's not to say these writers aren't creative enough to do that. That's a lot of work to ask, because then the readers do need to feel like, well, I need to know where they come from to understand what's going on with their character. And I know they're all identified by the lantern ring itself, but I don't think there's too many from Earth. I think that's where that's like saying there's too many superheroes from Earth in general. I mean, that's the planet we know. So I think you don't have to look all the way throughout the galaxy to find the best stories to tell. That's not to say there shouldn't be any alien Green Lanterns, of course, because that'd be blasphemy. But can you really ever have too many if the stories are good and interesting, and you're getting different people like teenagers and just people from all different walks of life being called for the same reason?
And there are a ton of of other aliens that, like, you've got Kilowog, you've got Salak, you've got like all of these other great Green Lanterns who are part of the mythos. But I mean, again, if I'm solely approaching this question from like the current continuity, is that our Earth, Earth Prime, whatever you want to call it, is like the center of the Omniverse. So it's the rings just sort of gravitate towards there. And I do like how Guy Gardner had put it, and because again, this has been addressed before in comics, and like, why are they all from Earth? And basically he's like, oh well, if I'm buying a Chevy, I'm not going to bounce around to different models if I know that one model is the one that works.
That's like my family only buys Honda because we know that Honda cars are reliable.
Yeah,
I mean, it makes sense. The Green Lantern ring could be very
much from Earth are the Toyota Tacomas of Green Lanterns. So, yeah, thank you. That's a
wow.
great
We're getting
question.
into car talk. That's really off brand for us.
That's all.
Too cool.
I know that a Toyota is a car, and that's all I got.
You're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. All right. Well, I got one more Boom Studios book to cover for you guys on the AIM list this week. It's mostly a plug to remind lapsed readers. Don't forget to pick this up in your poll. But also, if you're curious, we've got a. This isn't the jumping on point. Anyways, 7 Secrets, number 7. This is the start of a brand new arc. I wanted to explain that one, but I didn't do it very well. 7 Secrets, number 7. If the book is called 7 Secrets and you're hitting issue number 7, it's going to be a good one. I mean, if you've been doing the Buffy watches with Autumn in the Let Your Geek Side Show Facebook group, issue number 7, episode number 7 is the turning point for any good story, depending on how long the arc is. This was written by Tom Taylor with art by Danielle Di Nicuolo and colors by Walter Biomonte, and lettered again by Ed Dukeshire, who must be a kind of Boom Studios staple letterer. Now, this is the first issue of a new arc, but unlike a lot of independent titles where the next arc or a lot of series where the new arc is kind of a reset point, this is absolutely a continuation that was like hey, we had a nice brief pause, now back into the action. I would absolutely not recommend you. I would absolutely not recommend you jump in here. But if I might persuade you, if you like what you hear today, out today as well is the 7 Secrets Volume 1, which encapsulates issues 1 through 6. So you can pick this up and the trade and be ready to jump into the monthly format if you so choose. If you are tired of trade waiting, you can jump right into that. Now, briefly overall, the 7 Secrets is about a clandestine organization that guards 7 briefcases with 7 secrets inside of them. They are words, weapons, entire worlds, maybe. Absolutely unfathomable power that must be guarded at all costs. Every secret has a holder, and every holder has a protector as well. And they are in charge of guarding these cases that are never to be opened. But if you've been reading along, you know, of course, anything that you're told not to open is going to get opened at some point. There is, of course, the evil opposition that are seeking to steal these secrets from the organization. And it's just this amazing story. And I joked, it's the best shonen anime you've never read. And I know that you don't read anime, but with the colors and art style, it's very much not in the manga tradition, but it does feel like a very animated. It's almost like if you broke an animation into every single frame and put it into this beautiful comic. It is just so much fun, and it follows Caspar, who is the son, the not illegitimate, the illicit son. Like he wasn't supposed to be. He wasn't supposed to be born between one of the secret holders and then one of the protectors, and it's all about his deciding to grow up with the order and join and protect one of the 7 secrets. Just a really, really cool. All right, Adriana Gonzalez just bought 7 Secrets Volume 1. I hope you enjoy. This is honestly one of my surprise favorites of the last year. Oh,
that's the cover.
That's the cover. Thank you for pulling that, Paul. That is the cover. That was part of the issue reprint compilation. We did cover that in the news at one point, but at some point, just before the 7th issue came out, they reprinted every single issue. Some of them were in their 5th printing, 4th printing, 3rd, and 2nd, and each issue had slightly more characters on the cover. So 7 Secrets number 7 picks up after some very explosive events, which I will not spoil because there are people who might be checking out that full first arc. But you do get to see kind of the 7 Secrets organization on the run, on the retreat from the conflicts they experience in the first arc. And so this one does set up really nicely for the next arc. If you like fantasy and just kind of wild anything goes stories, this is absolutely an anything goes story because this 7th issue doesn't even look anything like the 6th issue. It just totally changed the rules of the game. And I really don't want to give away too much here, but I absolutely love this story so much. It is so energetic. The characters are so earnest, and Tom Taylor and his collaborators have built such an extensive lore around these 7 secrets, and the characters just feel so fun and wild because it is a global organization. So you get a lot of really cool, diverse character designs, but just also a wide range of personality types, from the kind of career protectors and the very serious and stoic. And then you've got the kind of more energetic, like, this is my job and I might as well have fun with it because I could die in service to the organization, but like, I'm going to go out with a bang. And it is just so much fun. If you are able to check out even a preview online of the trade issue or the trade collection, I would highly recommend it if you're not already reading it. Paul and I have already covered it several times on this show. We just absolutely love this book. But if you are monthly, or you were just kind of picking this up as you go, this is your reminder. Pick up number 7 because it is back on the shelves. We've got another arc. 14 Wellington says that he is very intrigued. Shonen anime in the form of a comic book. Yeah, it reminds me of those kind of I would get those like Jump compilations at San Diego Comic-Con when the Viz Media booth would put those out, and it just had a little bit of Naruto and a little bit of One Piece and like a little bit of everything, and it just reminds me of that kind of energetic style. And you also get those really hyper extended see, I'm not good at talking about action art, but like the really cool like forced perspective of a character like going like whoa, and like with the action lines, just so passionate, and it's just a fantastic story, firing on all cylinders. And then the M for this book is $3.99. It's 32 pages, again with a little bit of Boom Studios bonus material in the back, so you get about 28 pages total of story. Just so much fun. And yeah, I don't even want to spoil what's going on here, but you do see Caspar on that cover with he is the holder of the 7th secret, so that he's got the briefcase on his back there, and so he is the keeper of one of the 7 secrets, and they don't even know what's inside of their briefcases. That's how secret those secrets are. But it is so,
looks like he's going to Asgard.
It kind of does. I mean, without spoiling too much, there's a rainbow bridge in this one, and it's very cool. But yeah, I love this series so much. Again, Boom Studios, check that out. Just great stuff all around this week. This week was a huge week for comics. I mean, it is the first Wednesday in the month. I think there's only 4 Wednesdays in this month. I'm not sure if we get another 5 Wednesday month, but I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, just the 4.
Just the 4? Yeah, last month we had 5, so the weeks were a little bit spread out. But we do have time for a quick rapid fire round if you want. Paul, you want to just read off some of the other books you got this week?
Yes. So I read Avengers number 44, which wraps up the Phoenix arc. Star Wars: The High Republic number 4. As for now, moving over to DC Comics, Batman 107, which is so good. It's so good. The Swamp Thing number 2, and then of course Green Lantern number 1, which I had already covered. Now, as far as moving over to some of the independent publishers, that's not the big 2. Nocterra number 2, which is also firing on all cylinders. Absolutely loved it. I mean, I had to pick up that book. When you have Scott Snyder, when we have Scott Snyder on the show, you pick up issue 2.
When Scott Snyder comes knocking, you cannot say no.
Yes.
Yeah. Such a good book.
It's so good. Of course, Geiger. I also picked up 7 Secrets number 7. But like someone had said in the comments, I'm also a few issues behind. I think I'm like 2. I think the last one I read was like 5 or 4. The Silver Coin, and then Fear Case number 3 by Dark Horse Comics. Fear Case has been awesome. It's like if True Detective was put into a horror comic. I love it. It's so good. So yeah, that's everything I picked up this week. Pretty small week for me.
Nice. I want to show you guys what my list looked like this week because I got to the store and I said, that can't be right. That is like 14, 15 books.
Are there no variants in there?
Oh no! Every single one of these is a different comic book. Well, I mean, I did pick up the Peach Momoko variant for Avengers.
Oh yeah,
I had to. It was my girl, She-Hulk. But as you guys saw, we covered, of course, Silver Coin, Magic, and 7 Secrets. But I also got Far Sector number 11. That's only one issue away from the end of Far Sector. Love that book so much. But that is my only DC pull for this week. And then from Marvel, I've got Marauders number 19, Excalibur number 20, Avengers number 44, King in Black number 5. That is the end of the King in Black book. But there are a few more tie-ins that are wrapping up this week and next. Of course, I've got Runaways number 35 as well. I've got Nocterra number 2 from Image Comics also. And then Buffy the Vampire Slayer rounding out my Boom pull list because I aimed all of my other Boom books. And then from Vault, another favorite of ours over here, I got Vampire the Masquerade number 7 and Hollow Heart number 2. That's a follow-up on that fantastic cybernetic monster love story that I loved so much. That was The Shape of Water meets I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. So I'm looking forward to diving back into that one. Now, for the final segment of our show, we do have the Holler at the Hall segment. We asked you guys last week a really kind of creative question. I mean, I think it's very interesting to see what you guys thought, and it was a fun walk down imagination lane for Paul and myself. Last week, we asked you, who is your dream creative team to produce an Avengers book for Marvel? We said, no holds barred. You can have whatever you want, anyone you want to hire onto this project. Who do you want creating an Avengers book for Marvel?
So we had some answers over in the Let Your Geek Set Show Facebook group. Charles Tett said, writing, I would like to see Chris Claremont, and the artist would be Ron Garney. That's a crazy question with how many great writers and artist combinations you could make. Can I have Stan Lee throwing out ideas? You absolutely can. Just have him yelling at you in the Marvel bullpen. I would love it.
Oh, Stan the man. And Chris and Luann Robinson also kind of couldn't quite decide. So we got a couple of very unique pairings. Close your eyes and imagine, if you will, writing Chris Claremont with art by Todd McFarlane with a variant cover by John Romita Jr. I love that they threw in a variant cover.
I also love that. Yeah.
The writer Alan Moore paired with artist Frank Miller. Writer John Byrne paired with artist Kevin Eastman of Ninja Turtles fame. And lastly, writer Neil Gaiman paired with artist John Romita Jr.
Yes.
A lot of JR Jr. love. And he's coming back to Marvel. So I mean, that would be a perfect project for him.
That would be great.
Paul, who would you like to see?
So I had 2. My 2 picks would be Kelly Thompson and Jen Hickman, who worked on Jen Hickman had worked on
Lonely Receiver.
Lonely Receiver, Not I Breathe the Body. That's his other book. That's or Christopher Cantwell writing, who's, I absolutely love everything he's doing right now. He's currently writing Iron Man, which I wish I could cover every issue, but Amy said no, you can't cover 8 issues of Iron Man. Fine. Chris,
we'll just turn into the Iron Man show.
Iron Man and haha. Yeah. So Christopher Cantwell, and then art by Christian Ward. That would be such a trippy book.
Oh my goodness, that would be. That would have to have a really interesting Avengers roster as well. Put some cosmic or some magic people in that. I personally also would pick Kelly Thompson. I really want to see her reunite with Mattia de Ulis, get a really cinematic looking version of the Avengers. I'm stoked for Mattia to be on, of course, my favorite superhero, Jane Foster with the Mighty Valkyries coming up very soon with Jason Aaron and Theron Groenbeck. But he did do some pages for Jason Aaron's Avengers as well. We got that Howard Stark flashback with Mephisto.
Oh, right.
So I think that could be a really interesting cinematic version of the Avengers. Kelly Thompson has also written quite a few of the Avengers by this point. I mean, she's had She-Hulk guest star in her book. She's got Captain Marvel. I think she's written some Cap dialogue as well. I know she can write Iron Man. She's kind of done all of that. And then my wild card pick would be Chip Zdarsky writing with Fiona Staples, if we could persuade her to do the Avenger. I'm just selfishly, I really want more Fiona Staples. Now, I know that Jasmine, our moderator, also had some answers for this one. So Jazz, do you want to come in real quickly and tell us who you'd pick as well?
Yeah.
Hi, Jazz.
So my pick would immediately my pick would be Kieran Gillen and Jamie McKelvey. I mean, they did a great job with the Young Avengers and the actual Avengers, although like infected by Mother and stuff at the time, did make appearances within that comic. So they know how to write them. Jamie obviously draws them so gorgeously, so it's already set up right there. So if they could get their own Avengers run, I think it would be super fun.
Marvel calls them back and says, boys, we've upgraded you from the young ones to the real ones.
That's it.
Right.
That's quite a promotion over at Marvel. No, I absolutely agree, especially with all of Jamie's beautiful costume design work for characters like Carol and others that fill the ranks. Just, it would be an absolute perfect fit.
Yes, it would be. All right, everyone. Well, that pretty much wraps up the show there. Thank you, Jazz, so much.
We do have another question for you guys for next week, though. So this one's a great question, kind of spurred on by my own purchasing habits. I was looking at my credit card bill recently. Our next question for April 14th is, have you ever backed a comic book on Kickstarter? Yes. I mean, we've even had with Nocterra and Berserker. Of course, those did gangbusters Kickstarter campaigns. But have you ever backed anything on Kickstarter that is a comic, an independent publisher's creation, an anthology book? Maybe you backed Nocterra or Berserker. We want to hear about it and maybe what inspired you. Just really great resource for comics. And I think I've got like 6 pledges for independent books. I want to know that I'm not alone.
I think I've got 2 right now.
Nice.
I can't remember what they are. But that's for another episode. We sure will.
So we will post that up on our social media. You can also find it in the Let Your Geek Side Show Facebook group. We'll post that up by Friday. Want to hear about your books that you've backed on Kickstarter? Feel free to tell us about them. Or you can just say simply yes or no. If you didn't know that comic books were a place, or Kickstarter was a place for comic books, maybe take this weekend and do some browsing. We'd love to hear what you discover there. But we'll get back to you guys next week. We have another great show. I think it's a normal one in terms of whatever normal means for our show. It's not an event show or anything coming up, but we'll hopefully be back to our regular tech setup. And we'll be here for you guys with all the new releases from April 14th.
That'll be exciting. It's going to be a big week.
That will be a big week. Thank you guys so much for joining us here and sticking through the tech troubles. We hope you found something that you didn't consider earlier this week. Find a new story that you love. Always appreciate you guys showing up. You can always reach out to us, of course, at the Comics Hall. I know we don't have the handy dandy little lower thirds, at the Comics Hall on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or you can email us at thecomicsHall@sideshow.com. Just make sure you get your ats correct, but it's the Comics Hall.
Please do.
Pretty much anywhere. But until then, we will see you guys next week. As always, I'm Amy.
And I'm Paul.
And this has been the Comics